Hey everyone, Ryan from Ebike Escape.
And JT from Ebike Escape. And today we're gonna be checking out the Velotric Discover 1 electric e-bike. Let's get into it. Before we get to the walk around of the Velotric Discover 1, there will be a link in the description. If you are thinking about purchasing one of these bikes, please consider using that link. Any purchases made through that link help Ebike Escape. Also in the description, you'll find links to our e-bike accessories page, our top e-bikes brands page, and our e-bike discounts codes page. On the discounts code page, you'll find links to the top discounts for all the brands that we follow.
I just wanted to jump out here real quick and give you a bit more insight about who Velotric is. Velotric is a new company, and the Discover 1 is their first bike being brought to the market. Velotric has built their company on a group of individuals with decades of logistics, engineering, and design experience from companies such as Specialized Giant and Lime. Velotric utilized an Indiegogo campaign to help raise the funds. It has been fully funded and is still active. We here at Ebike Escape are excited to see what Velotric comes out with next, but for now, let's get into the walkaround of the Velotric Discover 1.
So starting up here at the front, Velotric chose to go with these really nice tan wall tires. These tires are 26 by 2.5. The tires are a little bit wider than what we're used to seeing, but that should provide a little bit of extra stability when riding around the city or commuting. We have really been enjoying riding around with that little bit extra width. If you'll also notice, it is a quick release front wheel, which will be really nice for transporting the bike, and if you had to say fix a flat. One of the other nice amenities are these plastic fenders. While they are plastic, they will provide a little bit of extra protection, and they really hug the tires nicely and really add to the appearance of this bike. The brakes offered on the Discover 1 are mechanical disc brakes. They do come with 180 mil rotors, front and rear. These are unbranded mechanical disc brakes. Through our riding, we have found that they stop perfectly fine though. The Velotric Discover 1 does come with a 65mm front suspension fork. The suspension fork has a preload adjustment knob on the top and no lockout on the other side. We'll go ahead and give it a little push just so you can kind of see what to expect from it. While the suspension fork is entry level, it will still provide some comfort while on the road. Here's a closer look at the light that comes on the Discover 1. What we find with a lot of these lights is that they are great for being seen. But if you're looking for the most visibility at night, we do recommend a handlebar mounted light, and the ones that flash are great for daylight visibility as well. Moving up from the light, we do have this nice cable wrapping on the bike. This does add a nice aesthetic to the front end look of the bike. One of the other nice aesthetic features of the front of this bike are that the cables are routed into the frame. Really helps clean up the down tube. Moving around to the cockpit, we do have unbranded disc brake levers and these rubber lock-on grips. It's always nice to see lock-on grips. Also included is this nice bell. Then in the center, we have the Velotric branded LCD screen. One of the great features about this screen is how bright it is. It makes it really easy to see in direct sunlight. Starting at the top of the screen, you have a mile/hour gauge, a battery gauge, an odometer, and what pedal assist level you're in. It's 1 to 3. When you push the power button on the control over here, it changes the odometer. So what other options you have there are average mile per hour, max miles per hour, time, calories burned, current wattage that the motor is using, volts, it's a 48 volt system, and your total trip. Moving over from the LCD screen, we do have a Shimano 7-speed thumb shifter and a thumb throttle. One thing to note about this throttle placement is that you may have to reach in order to get to some of these levers when holding the grip. And that's why we usually see the thumb throttles on the left. One of the other nice features of this cockpit are the swept-back handlebars and the 10-degree angled front stem. These allow you to sit in a much more upright riding position. This makes for a much more comfortable ride. One other thing on the frame that we noticed are these bosses. While Velotric doesn't offer any accessories now, they may in the future. Moving down, we have a really nicely integrated battery. It's a 14.4 amp hour battery and is really what you would expect in this price point. I'm gonna go ahead and pop out the battery real quick. So coming around to the other side of the bike, you have a key spot. Give the key a 180-degree twist and the battery pops right up and out. To get the battery back in, you have these 2 points on the bottom that line up the 2 grooves on the inside. Get those lined up. While you're applying forward pressure, give the key a 180-degree twist back the other direction, and you'll feel it lock in. Pull the keys and remove. Moving down the down tube, we have this nice door here. We assume the controller for the bike is behind this door. This is a nice aesthetic touch to the bike. Another nice feature of having this compartment down here, this is where all the wires and cables come out of the frame, as opposed to underneath the bike. One other nice feature of the frame down here are these 2 bottle cage bosses. Next thing we're going to talk about are these pedals. Velotric opted for some plastic pedals for this bike. From a durability standpoint, we would recommend upgrading these pedals, but to just get out and ride, these are perfectly adequate. One of the other nice things about this section of the bike is this recessed kickstand. It mounts into the frame here. So nice to see this located at the back of the bike, so you don't have to worry about pedal lock when moving the bike around. Here's a closer look at the mechanical rear disc brakes. One of the other nice features of the Discover 1 is that it comes fully outfitted with front and rear fenders and a rear rack. On this rear fender, it does have an integrated rear brake light. It does light up when you hit the brakes. It's really nice to see an integrated rear brake light on a bike at this price point. The rear rack has 2 mounting points, one at the front, one at the rear, and the fender also mounts to this nice V, as well as down by the cables and back here on the rear sets. Here's a closer look at the Shimano 7-speed tourney rear derailleur. This is an entry-level rear derailleur, but it's very nice to see name brand components on a bike at this price point. And we also have a 14 to 28 freewheel. Here's a closer look at the rear motor. This is a 500-watt motor that we found from our riding peaks somewhere around 800. Here's a look at the rear cable and wire routing down the rear chainstay. If you follow them up, they disappear nicely into the cubby we were talking about on the other side of the bike. It's going to be hard to see on camera, but Velotric does include a rear chainstay cover, which will help protect against chain slap. Moving up here, we also have a 42-tooth front chainring. Moving up the bike, we do have this fairly large, but we found it to be a very comfy seat. On the back side of the seat, it does have this built-in handle. Now, we do know seats are going to be one of those big things of personal preference. If you're looking for any recommendations before making a purchase, please check out our e-bike accessories list. And one of the last things we wanted to point out before we end this walk around was a couple of the nice design aesthetics that Velotric added to this bike. First one being up here at the head tube, they have this nice cover that helps the handlebars blend into the frame. Another nice feature is going to be this integrated V to the bottom of the seat. And then if you look right below the seat, they had this V that they added to the frame for a rear fender mount. And the last thing we wanted to make sure that we highlighted was the step-through frame design. We really think this adds to the accessibility that this bike offers. And we'll just quickly demonstrate that for you. And keep in mind, I am about 5'8", but I have about a 28, 29-inch inseam. And that pretty much wraps up the walk around. Let's go ahead and toss it to Ryan for some riding footage.
All right, welcome to Wisconsin. It is currently 27 degrees out. Feels like 15, so I am all decked out in my winter gear. Showers Pass hooked me up with this jacket and pants. I got double gloves on, hand warmers. I lowered the seat because there was some icy spots, so I am slowly getting used to winter being back here in Wisconsin. And I have to say, as I was riding this bike over to the location where I do my first-person riding footage, going through the throttle and pedal assist, I was really appreciating these a little bit wider tires for their stability. So that's nice. With that, let's test this bike out, see what it can do. You might be able to even see the display on the Velotric. Really like this nice bright display. I think they did a nice job there. And you will note there are 3 pedal assist modes, and I do need to be in the highest one in order to get the most power out of the throttle. So it's in pedal assist 3, got my GPS speed over here on the left. This battery, if I'm not mistaken, is advertised as a Class 2 electric bike. So max speed 20 miles per hour with that throttle. We did go into the advanced settings. You can do that holding the plus and minus pedal assist button at the same time. We did go ahead and override it just in case there is additional power. So we'll see how that goes. And one other unique thing that I'll just talk about with the controls here. On the left side, you do have the power button at the top and then plus and minus. Now that is a different design than I normally see. And so it's been a little bit confusing because usually the power button is in the middle and then the pedal assist button is at the top and the pedal assist down button is at the bottom. But just something to get used to. And of course, if you don't ride as many electric bikes as I do, it's no big deal. All right, first we'll do throttle only. 3, 2, 1, throttle. Definitely a little pickup. You feel it kicking a little bit with this 500 watt motor that peaks at 700 or so watts. There's 16, 18. Says it's using about 6, bouncing between 550, 650 watts. And it looks like 19 was the highest speed that I hit. It does look like the display readout is pretty accurate. And it is pretty windy today, so that might be having an impact. There's 20 miles per hour with the throttle only. And again, usually 500 watt motors not going to be as strong as perhaps a 750 watt motor that peaks much higher than that. Let's go ahead and go down to pedal assist 1. We'll go in throttle just to give you an idea. I actually think it's kind of nice when companies do this, when the throttle associates with the pedal assist as far as power goes. So I'm holding the throttle, pedal assist 1 going 12, 13 miles an hour here. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 2. Again, just using that throttle, there's 14, 15. And obviously we know what pedal assist 3 is going to do and give us that full amount of power. With that, let's go ahead and turn the assist levels off. Throttle does not work in pedal assist 0, which is a nice safety feature. And I do have the bike in 7th gear. A lot of people do ask me, can you pedal whatever electric bike I'm reviewing if you run out of battery or if there's an issue? And usually the answer is yes, though hills are going to be a challenge. And right now I'm providing quite a bit of effort to keep at 10 miles an hour here. I could shift down a little bit, make it easier. So the nice thing, obviously, 7-speed shifter here. So you can really shift down and make it really easy on yourself. But again, hills are going to be the challenge. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 1 here. And already I need to shift up. My legs are really spinning. I'm in 3rd gear now. Leisurely pace. I think I could even go into 4th gear. Usually when we ride our electric bikes, we are in the highest gear. I think I could even shift up one more to get a little bit more of a workout. Providing a fair amount of effort, but nothing too crazy. Going 14 miles an hour here in pedal assist 1. Shows I'm only using around 100 watts. I think I saw 150. It's really bouncing around, so hard to tell, but I can conserve battery, obviously. All right, let's go into pedal assist 2, and I definitely felt the motor kick in there. And so I definitely would shift up here, 6th gear and 7th gear for sure. And you can see I'm already hitting 18 miles an hour. And again, providing some assistance myself, but I would say my legs are spinning a little bit. And what is going to be interesting is pedal assist 3. Let's go ahead and try that. We are hitting 20 miles an hour here. And I do believe that motor might be cutting off. Maybe not, actually. I'm going to go ahead and turn this corner here. Give it a little throttle just to get started. Here's pedal assist 3. And there's 20 miles an hour. Bike is using 200 watts. Let's see if I can get this bike any faster. And I'm really pushing hard now. So I think that's going to be a Class 2 electric bike. And I think that motor is indeed cutting off over 20 miles an hour. You can see the wattage is going down to like 17, so it's definitely not helping me. All right, so hopefully that gives you a bit of idea of what to expect as far as throttle and pedal assist. Let's take this bike up the big hill and see what this 500 watt motor can do. Okay, here we are at the hill climb test. We'll put on the screen the specs of this hill so you can get an idea of just how steep it is, because the GoPro makes it look much smaller than it actually is. This is the hill that we test out all the electric bikes that we review, so you can compare and contrast, and this should be interesting to see how this 500 watt nominal motor performs. First test we'll do is throttle only here. And I have to say, as I was riding the bike over here, I was really appreciating these swept back handlebars, really comfortable riding position. And one of the other cool things that I really like about this bike is just the look of it. Definitely more unique compared to some other affordable electric bikes. And yeah, it's been performing pretty well so far. Hill is really starting right now, still going about 17, 15. And I'm guessing this motor is going to have no problem making it up. It's just a matter of how fast. 13 miles an hour, 11. And just for comparison purposes, when I'm riding, for instance, a 750 watt motor that peaks much higher, those bikes obviously have more rolling resistance and are heavier, but they do go about 13-ish. So I think I saw 11 was the lowest. So that's actually pretty good. I think better than I was expecting from the Velotric Discover 1. So definitely capable of handling hills. And of course, you're likely to pedal. Conserve some of that 14.4 amp hour battery. And we are hitting 850 or so watts is the max I saw. So 500 watt nominal, 800-ish watt peak motor. All right, not too bad. Now I'm going to head back down the hill, and then I'll do it again while pedaling so you can get an idea of how it performs using the various pedal assist modes and, of course, the 7 gears. Okay, here we are at the bottom of the hill. I'm just going to use a little bit of throttle just to get started so I can shift down here. We'll go ahead and start in pedal assist 1. 4th gear right now. Going about 12 miles an hour. And already, definitely feel like I want to go up in the pedal assist to 2. I'll do that here in just a second. I'm getting a fair bit of work out here though in pedal assist 1 and 4th gear. Of course, I could shift all the way down if I wanted to. And I could go up the hill in 1st gear, pedal assist 1, and use 300 watts. But let's go ahead and give it a little bit more power. There's pedal assist 2. And I think I could shift up here if I wanted to get more of a workout. There's 3rd gear. And this feels pretty good. Not working too terribly hard. 8 to 10 miles an hour using 500 watts now. Let's actually go into 4th gear here and go into the max pedal assist 3. Definitely feel the motor kick in there, and I think I could shift up 5th, 6th. And still not pedaling too terribly hard, which is nice. I think I could even go in 7th. And we're getting closer to the top, going about 15 miles an hour. So yeah, while pedaling definitely helps conserve that battery, get a little bit of exercise. And so I feel like even with the 3 pedal assist modes, well, it's usually nicer to have a little bit more, so you have a little bit more spread of power. But for a class 2 electric bike, it's not as big of a deal. And I feel like the power levels between, they're not too jolting. So hopefully that gives you a better idea of what you can expect out of the Velotric Discover 1 going up hills. Now let's get to some third-person riding footage, and I'll give you my concluding thoughts on the Velotric Discover 1. As we mentioned earlier, the Velotric Discover 1 was first released on Indiegogo, and it is a successful one too. As of recording, the company has raised over $470,000 from 317 backers. And after spending some time on the Velotric Discover 1, I think these backers will be happy with the result. While I'm usually leery of Kickstarter and Indiegogo projects with e-bikes, Velotric obviously has these bikes out in the wild, and we were excited to be one of the first few folks to have a closer look. If you want to be one of the first purchasers of these electric bikes, the $14.99 early bird price is valid until December 22nd, 2021. After that, the Velotric Discover 1 will be available on Velotric's website for a list price of $18.99, though they do plan to offer some slight discounts, at least initially. So in our book, the fantastic deal is really in the early bird price. And by the way, according to the Indiegogo campaign, these bikes are slated to ship in December in the US and January in the EU, United Kingdom, and Switzerland. And at that $14.99 price point, this bike definitely stands out. It just looks like a nicer bike than others at this price point. Part of this is due to the aesthetic touches around the bike that just make it look a little bit more of a custom designed e-bike. Some thought definitely went into making this bike look great. I should also mention it comes in other colors: jet black, indigo, cyan, mango, and of course the silver that you see here. I like that Velotric launched with the step-through design combined with the swept-back bars. This e-bike is definitely made for comfort. Velotric states a height range between 5'4" and 6'4", though I wouldn't be surprised if even shorter riders could fit on this bike comfortably. The 500-watt motor should be plenty of power for a vast majority of use cases, as you saw in the riding footage. The Shimano components are basic but perform well and are what we see often on e-bikes in this price range. The clean look of the integrated battery also stands out, along with that bright LCD display. I really enjoyed the wider tires with the brown sidewalls. These bikes also come fully outfitted, sleek looking fenders, front and rear lights, and of course that rear rack. Now with any e-bike I review, there are room for improvements. In my opinion, on the Discover 1, I would have liked to see a lockout on the front suspension. Secondly, the thumb throttle on the right side next to the shifter might be a bit cumbersome compared to a twist grip throttle or a left-hand thumb throttle. On the EU models, there is no thumb throttle, and apparently you get a torque sensor instead of the cadence sensor on the US models. And while the pedal assist felt fine in our testing, it would be nice to have a few more levels of pedal assist instead of just 3. In conclusion, the Velotric Discover 1 is a pretty impressive model, especially for a new company coming to market. And of course, their prior experience might have helped here. As with all new e-bike companies, we like to see how the experience goes for real customers, but so far we've been impressed with Velotric. Needless to say, we'll be keeping a close eye on the company. And if you're one of those people who wants to get a great deal on an e-bike, then I say go for it. Bike-wise, there's a lot to like about the Velotric Discover 1. Again, if you are looking to purchase one of these e-bikes, please consider using the link in the description to help us continue to make videos like this one. Other valuable resources down in the description as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.